Hello, welcome to another episode of Druids Down Under discuss everything. I'm Julie Brett. Welcome to the chat. If you're catching this later, you can catch them live on Tuesday nights. Sydney time is 8:30 p.m. And yeah, they happen on the Facebook group, Druids Down Under, and later we put them onto the SerpentStar OBOD YouTube channel, and you can find them there if you want to see them, see previous ones. Welcome, a couple of people jumping in now. Hi. Yeah, what a week, hey? It's been pretty full-on weather-wise across the country. The fires and the dust storms and massive hail, and now like we're having this crazy windstorm today. There's trees down all over the place. It's just been full-on. So I hope wherever you are, you're staying safe and it's not been affecting you too much. And if it is, I hope that you're finding a way through and working out how to deal with all of this. I did have a chat about the fire and about the sacredness of water last week. And if you wanted to have a look at that one, it's in the videos section of the Facebook group at the moment, and we'll get it up on the YouTube channel for SerpentStar OBOD as soon as we manage to find the time. Hello, Rebecca. Hi, Carol. Yeah, so today I thought I would have a chat about Awen and how that works in my life, just as an example to show people that are new to Druidry, or even just old hats, just different ways of being, sharing our stories in different ways about how Druidry comes about in our lives. And what sparked this idea was a question from Jodie Zammit, so thank you, Jodie. She asked, how does Druidry show up in daily life and work? And I thought I would take it from the perspective of Awen and creativity and how that works for me, and what that looks like in my life. A few of you might already know what I do, but I thought I'd talk about the personal experience of it and how it's changed over time. And yeah, just different ways that we can work with Awen, because I think that there's so many different ways, and perhaps hearing about somebody else's experience of it can help us understand our own. So we can define Awen as, like it translates as the sacred breath. But it's breath in the sense that it's related to spirit. The root words are very similar to like what it is? Inspire and spirit, and I can't remember the root word, but yeah, there is one that means breath. It's where spirit comes from. But yeah, so that to be filled with spirit, to be brought into manifestation, like brought into life, is kind of a relationship to Awen. But we think of it as the flowing spirit, or the creative spirit, the creative flow. And I like to think of it as what brings, turns action into art. It's sort of the enlivening factor that makes something artful. So that can happen in so many different ways in our lives. I used to work as a fashion designer back in the day when I was just discovering paganism, and it was all pretty new to me. I didn't really understand how these concepts were going to work in my life, but I was struggling. I was enjoying the artistic side of things, but sometimes I would really struggle with the necessity to be making stuff all the time, to have it as your job, to sit down 9 to 5 and create, was really draining for me, especially after a couple of years of doing the job. And I found I just didn't know how to replenish myself. So one of the big lessons in my life has been learning how to feed my creativity and get that energy to be able to bring things into being, because that's really what you're doing. You're sort of drawing ideas from different places, and there's a brewing, if you like, in the cauldron of yourself to overflow into creative work. And there's so many different ways that can happen. What I came to find initially not through Druidry, just through realizing how important it was to me, was to just take time out and to spend time in nature, and to take a break, like going on a holiday or doing some travel or something like that, that gives you the the opportunity to sort of get new energy in and fill up your cup, was a wonderful way to find new inspiration. I was doing swimwear design, so I was just having to think of prints and different sort of floral designs and stripes and dots and things like that. You know, all different kinds of designs for swimwear, and I ran out of ideas often when I was in burnout mode. And later, after studying Druidry, I realised what was missing was this Awen, this energy of creative flow, and where I get that energy from now is through nature, just going for a walk, or just spending time in the garden, being outside, maybe going for a swim, or visiting the beach or something like that, if I'm near there, or going to a creek or a waterfall. There's somewhere you can just be, and there's something incredibly healing about nature that really helps my creativity. You can also do ritual. I just find that doing ritual just helps me understand what all my inspirations are in the moment, and how they can come together to form something like a story worth telling through whatever your art is, if you have an expressive art that you like to do things with. Also reading and learning and bringing ideas in, like seeing other people's inspiration, looking at other people's artworks, and, you know, reading stories, or visiting a museum, or travel type things as well, were really helpful for me in feeding that inspiration. It's like it almost gets passed along. You see other people's Awen and it feeds your own. So yeah, that was a lesson that I found in all of that. And now I work making jewellery. That's my main job, aside from I suppose teaching Druidry and doing a bit of writing and podcasting and things like that. But I make jewellery for work. So with the jewellery, I find it works a lot better for me to work with Awen kind of not in that 9-to-5 sort of structured way that working for a company was when I was doing swimwear design, but working on my own time I find is much better for my creativity. I can know when I need those times to feed myself by researching things, or just spending time contemplating, or doing rituals and meditations and things like that. And then there's output time when I'm creating things and telling stories through the designs, and putting concepts together and physically making stuff and packing parcels and sending things off and emailing people. So yeah, there's a nice balance that can come from working for yourself and having your own time to do those things. You can play with Awen a little bit more easily in daily life if you have that kind of flexibility. So yeah, with the jewellery I work with crystal meanings, and I tell and deities and different sort of concepts and stories that we might come across in Druidry, or looking at all different kinds of personal development, like maybe the elements, or there's different stories of myths, or maybe Awen, or the bardic journey, or the Ovate journey, or the Druid journey. And different things that we might do with those. Those are stories that I like to tell with the jewellery, and so yeah, that's another thing that I do, I guess, where it comes into what I'm doing. I also am really excited lately. I've been working a lot with OM and native trees as well as traditional ones, looking at how I can bring that into my jewellery work as well. So yeah, there's like the creative work comes from the spiritual work, like it all informs it. So that's really nice. But it comes into loads of other areas of my life. I found it really difficult to get into music when I started the bardic grade, I really thought, oh gosh, I can't do this performance stuff. It's terrifying. Just getting up and talking in front of people was really hard for me. But breaking through fear barriers and understanding how Awen is this flow that moves through us. It's like I don't know, it's like a spiritual energy or something that helps us to break away the ego and the fear that stops us from expressing ourselves. So working with that concept really helped me to challenge myself in a few ways, and learning music and learning to write songs and how to write poems and stories and speak in ritual and things like that were all really challenging for me, but definitely a huge part of how Awen manifested in my life, and the things that it affected me with. So but that's not for everybody. There's lots of different ways that people work with Awen, and I mean, there could be it could come about in doing gardening or in your ritual work, or just maybe just being in the flow. So like when you're organized, or when you have all of your information and it's on call ready for you to use, when you're doing something in a skilled way, I think that's when Awen is flowing too. So yeah, for me, I suppose the ones that come to mind are maybe small actions, like, you know, the way that you would make a cup of tea. You know the order of how you're going to do it. You're going to turn on the kettle, you're going to get the tea in the pot, you're going to get your cup and your spoon ready and get the milk out, and you know, you have like your particular order of doing things that you know is going to be the most efficient and flowing for you. Maybe you haven't thought about that, but maybe like even small actions, we can find Awen in them being smooth and effortless in some way, without hesitation or those moments of getting stuck. So it can really come into anything. I've felt the energy of it as you start to learn about what it's like. You start to recognize it in all kinds of things. I used to work as a bartender as well. I've had a few different jobs. And there you'd notice that pouring beers, and just being in the flow with pouring beers, you might notice it being a good host and talking to people and having a chat with the customers as they come in, and knowing what to say and how to be entertaining, which is a kind of performance. It might be making cocktails for people that are personalised and creative because you've said, oh, do you like this flavour or that flavour or this kind of thing or that? You know, would you like to experiment with a different sort of thing, and crafting something for somebody is another kind of Awen, and that's just one job. I'm sure there's lots of different ways that people can find their creativity through understanding what their skills are, being able to call on them quickly, being able to do things with efficiency and flow and skill. Or making an art of something. So if you can imagine whatever your activity is, what is it like to make an art of it, then you can understand a bit about what Awen is about. So yeah, there's been other places in my life where I've felt it as well. I used to teach English, and there it would be knowing the common problems that people might have with a certain concept, or they might be key lessons that you could learn on if there was a gap in. I would teach one-on-one. I was living in Japan, so I would do conversation classes with people. But if there was, you know, a gap in the conversation, you could call on your little set of tools that you had, knowing that, oh, that one or that one, I can work with different subjects and you know, have that backup tool ready to use whenever you needed it. That was a kind of flow. There's like a kind of mindset where there's no hesitation, there's nothing holding you back. It's just flowing and natural and easy, and it's like it's that feeling of stepping outside of yourself sometimes happens, and something coming through you and doing it for you, and at the end you think, oh, how did I do that? That's definitely an Awen thing. Hey Sharon. Another one that I felt it with was in martial arts. So I was in Japan because I was learning a martial art, and in that we were taught this concept of mushin. I'm pretty sure that I've mentioned this in another one of the talks as well. But mushin is about, it means without mind, so but without hesitating or thinking about something too much is really what it means. And so that was a kind of mind state that you would be trying to find quite often in martial arts. And I've often thought about that as being very similar to the state of mind that's needed for Awen to come in, whatever we're doing. So if you can do something just naturally without thinking about it, if it's your natural state of being, like your natural action, like pouring the beers in the bar, you're just doing it. You don't have to think about it. It's like if you drive a car or you ride a bicycle, you do it without thinking. You don't have to think, oh, I move the handles here, I do that. You just ride. So that's the kind of mindset that you're sort of looking for. Yeah, so there's so many different ways that it's come into my life, and really, yeah, I mean, the other one is writing. So when I was writing my book, it took so long to actually get to the point where the book came out and it's almost like that. It's like it comes out of you, something kind of flows out of you when it's ready. And I suppose there's different ways that this sense of creativity comes. Sometimes it's through this repetition and getting familiar with something and finding that flow. And other times it's waiting for that fullness in you to overflow in as something whole. And that might be more like an artwork or writing or something like that. And really we can only understand what it's like by just experimenting with it ourselves and challenging ourselves and seeing how that works. If you'd like to share some of your own experiences in the comments, that would be really interesting. I can read them later. It doesn't have to be in the live time. You can come back after the end of this and write some comments about how Awen manifests for you. It'd be really interesting. We might even have another discussion. It's nice to have a follow-on discussion in the group about things that have come up in the talks. So I'll do that as well. So writing was really hard for me. I found that I really wanted to write this book, my Australian Druidry book, but it just wasn't happening. I just couldn't find the voice to, like, who to speak to. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to say. I didn't know whether I wanted to say it to the whole pagan audience or if I wanted to say it just to Druids or if I wanted to be for anyone, anywhere. So this concept of connecting with the land, I didn't know sort of how to place it. And I was doing this dance class thing where we were moving through the energy centers in the body, and when we got to the throat chakra, so this, like, you know, getting to your ritual practice to try and find a way through. But it got to the throat chakra. After that one, I felt like this thing was just ready to come out of me. In the next few days, I put the bulk of it down. I had been working on it for a long time, but it hadn't formed in this, like, concise way. And sometimes it's like that. I think with Awen, you're sort of waiting for that moment, and it's kind of like the story of Taliesin, where that's that moment where he tastes the Awen, where it burns his finger. It's like you've just got to be ready for it to arrive unexpectedly, because that's sometimes how it works. That aha moment when it just all clicks and it's ready to be manifested through you. So yeah, do share your experiences. It's been nice to have a chat. So I guess in summary of the whole thing, I think that Awen is what turns our actions into art. It's something that we're not just doing something, we're creating something, we're bringing something into being with meaning and spirit, something that feels alive through us. It's a kind of quality of creativity and flow. It's a sacred breath, the spirit. And that's how it manifests in my life, or some of the ways. I think it's something that can really come into nearly everything that we do. And if I explained everything that I do, I'd be here all night. But thanks very much for listening, and I look forward to reading your comments. See you next time.